All right. Good to be with you. If you got a Bible, Matthew chapter 16. My name is Mark. Thanks, Kyle. Honestly, Kyle is one of my favorite people in ministry. Here's what I love about him, and it's true about your whole team. I get to hang out with a lot of pastors, a lot of churches. Kyle he's a live wire, right? He is just jacked up all the time. He gets excited about the most mundane nonsense in life, and it's all like, this is so important, this matters, And this is what I love about it. There's so many people that we meet in life that are just duds, right? They're just like, you sit around with them, you're like, dude, you're just boring. I just want to get out of here. When's this lunch over? Kyle ain't like that. He's just like, everything. So yesterday we go golfing, and I had landed Friday night at like 1 a.m. I'm like super tired. I get my rental car. I drive to the hotel. I'm super tired. I get up to go golfing. I'm like, oh gosh. And I get to the thing. I'm so tired. And I just see Kyle, man. First thing I see, he's got this pink golf shirt on, and he's at the driving range, and he sees me from a distance. And then every single hole, this guy had a hole, like if this job doesn't work out, being a tour guide or something, he was like, every hole was like, and this hole was cut out of the forest in 1848. And I'm like, wow, bro, every hole, this guy is jacked up about life, just jacked up, and I love it. He's a live wire, and it's true about your whole staff. They're just jacked up people, and it's true about your church. So many churches, they're like, and it's like, you guys like, let's go reach people for Jesus, right? Let's go. Let's be alive. So anyway, I love that about this church. And he wanted me to share a little bit from The Problem of Life. So this is a book that just came out in February. I wrote two other ones, Problem of God, Problem of Jesus. And if those two books are about God, this one's about us. It's about our human experience, about the soul. It's about life, death, pain, beauty, joy, suffering, death, all the things in life that we go through. And let me just frame kind of this message from Matthew 16. If you got a Bible, go there. I want to frame it this way. It's kind of framing why we would show up to any church service ever, all right? It's like we come here. Why are we here? I don't assume that you should be here. I didn't grow up going to church, so I don't assume people should go to church. I'm Canadian, and so grew up in a bit more of a secular culture. Didn't grow up in a Christian home at all. No God, no prayer. No anything. That was my life growing up. And so I finally came to church for the first time when I was 19 years old. And the only reason I stayed was because there was pretty girls there, right? Can I get an amen? The youth section or whatever. All right, so it's like, that was the only reason I stayed. I didn't know what church was, and I wouldn't really expect you to be here. We worship God, we open the scriptures, we talk about really deep, heavy things, and it's like, well, why? Why are we doing that? And I want to frame this, what Jesus talks about in this passage for your life, by this. So my friend in 2018, him and his family, his name's Sean, he has 3 kids, went to Hawaii on a vacation. Have you guys been to Hawaii? Right, been to Hawaii, great, beautiful spot. So he goes to Hawaii on vacation with his family, and he's sitting on the beach and hanging out in the hotel lobby, and it's just his kids. His wife is gone working out somewhere or something, and he's sitting there, and this text comes through his phone, beeping at very high, loud levels, a huge and everyone around him, all their phones start to go off, and he looks down and he reads this. He reads, ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Every text, every phone went off around him, and this is what they read and they saw, right? So it's the government saying there's a missile inbound for Hawaii, you're all dead. Because it's like, Hawaii, you're done. I mean, it's a little speck of land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You're done, right? And so he looks at it. Everyone freaks out. Everyone starts crying. He's in the hotel lobby. Everyone's crying. There's all kinds of different religions. People are crying out to their gods. And it's like, it's all over. His kids are like, I know we accepted Christ, but we got to do it again, Daddy. And he's like, yes, we have to make sure this is legit. And so they're all sitting in the lobby. And so they're dealing with it. They're crying. And he's calling his wife, and she won't pick up, and texting, where are you, blah, blah, blah. Can't find her. So 30 minutes go by, another text comes through, and it just says, hey, sorry, Tony hit a button, or whatever nonsense. Somebody made a mistake, all right? There's no missile, you're all good. Just chill, everything's fine. And of course, everyone celebrates, everyone's in the lobby, and it's like, yes, praise God, everybody's. And so they go upstairs, and his wife's just getting out of the shower, and the kids run to her, Dad, where have you been? She's like, what do you mean, what's going on? Well, I don't understand what's happened. And they're like, where have you been? And she's like, well, I've been working out. I met this nice woman down in the workout thing, and I had my phone off. And then we talked to each other all the way in the elevator. I got back, I jumped in the shower. What has been happening? I don't understand why you're all jacked up. Why are you so... And they're like, don't you know? She said, it was the end of the world. She's like, well, what are you, and the husband's like, what are you doing? What have you been doing? She's like, well, I was talking to this girl about we're going to redo the kitchen and where the kids are going to go to school and whatever. And I remember he's telling me that story. I'm like, dang, this is such a beautiful picture of, there's basically only two kinds of people. There's two kinds of people in the world. Two kinds of people in this room. There's the kind of people who ask deep questions, soul questions, existential moral questions, heaven, hell, God, salvation. I don't understand what's going on. And they deal with it because they understand the imminence and the vulnerability of their life and the imminence of their death. And the veil between them and eternity is so thin that it causes them to go, I got to ask some deep questions. And there's a whole bunch of people running on treadmills talking about redoing their kitchen. That's what the whole world is divided up in. It's literally what this room, some of you walk in here, you're not asking questions. You're just here to check a box, move on with your life, figure out where to go to school, maybe have a good family, get married. Oh, I just hope the boys like me. And then you get married, and then you hope to have a good family and you have the grandkids, and hopefully they stick around, and you get a good job, and you get a promotion, and that's the dream of your life. And Jesus is about to challenge all that and go, you got to think about deeper things than this. You got to deal with the soul. You got to deal with the soul. You got to deal with the question of God and eternity and heaven and hell. And what is eternity about? It's not just about you. And this is what's beautiful, is that everything Jesus is about to talk about in this passage, everything, the whole book is about this, finding joy in life. Because you know what? Here's the thing. You know what your greatest motivating factor is in your life? It's your own joy. It's your own pleasure. And this is the beauty of the gospel. One writer has said it this way. He says, the gospel is not a way to get you to heaven. It's a way of removing every obstacle of your everlasting joy in God. That's what it is. It's God fighting for your joy, which is beautiful because joy is the number one motivating factor behind everything you do. It's the reason you're going to go to lunch where you're going to go to lunch after this service. It's going to be your own joy, your own pleasure. What do you want? What do you feel like? I don't know. I feel like this. Well, I feel like this. It's why you wore what you're wearing right now. You didn't put that on because you thought you looked awful in it, right? You didn't look in the mirror and go, this looks terrible. I shall wear it to church. It's the number one motivating factor behind everything. The woman that guys, when you asked your wife to marry you, what was motivating that? Your own what? Joy. Right? It wasn't like, oh, I guess she'll just ask her, whatever, she makes me miserable and whatever. I gotta find someone. Right? Now, you might feel that now, but it's not how you... And so it's not that. You got down on your knees and said, I want to be with this girl. She gives me joy. She gives me pleasure. I want to be with this guy. This is the great motivating factor of our life. And Jesus Christ is about to define your joy both eternally and temporally in this world in a way that is surprising and interesting. And he starts with your mission, and the mission being bigger than you. Look at chapter 16 of Matthew, verse 13, when Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi. Right there, underline the word Caesarea Philippi and the fact that Jesus went there, because here's the thing about Caesarea Philippi. For those of you who are new to church, that was not the religious people. That was not the church people. Jesus didn't just hang out with church people. He went to the pagan places. That's what Caesarea Philippi was. It was a pagan territory. They didn't believe in the God of Israel. They didn't believe in any of it. They believed in pagan worship and sacrifice. And Jesus decides to go out there and hang, which is beautiful because as you sit here right now, some of you feel like you're not worthy of Jesus and that he doesn't want to pay you any attention because your life is a disaster. You are sinful. You're not religious. You don't understand. You don't care about God. Maybe you've never read the Bible. And you come here to church and you're feeling bad about yourself. And you're thinking Jesus wouldn't want to hang out with someone like me. And the beautiful thing is, this is exactly what Jesus does. You're the exact kind of person Jesus wants to hang out with. This was my upbringing. No God, no church, no prayer, no Bible. My father was adamantly against Christianity. So much so that my mom said, I have a brother, his name is Matthew, but when my mom proposed calling him Matthew, he's 4 years older than me, my dad rejected it, and his reason was this: I don't want to call my son Matthew because I heard that name is in the Bible. That's the background I come from, right? So my mom's like, well, let's just spell it with one T. And he's like, fine. So my brother's name is Matthew with one T. And 4 years later, they had me and named me Mark. All right, so clearly this guy had never picked up a Bible before in his life. My brother's middle name is James. My middle name is Andrew. So we have 4 disciples knocked off. before this guy has a clue what's going on, all right? And here's what happened to me. That's the Caesarea Philippi of my life. No God, no Jesus, no nothing till I was almost done high school. So I did all the things in life that you do when Jesus isn't a part of your life. All the drugs, all the party, all the nonsense. And yet, Jesus showed up in my life and changed my life. Now, here's the crazy thing. At some point in my life, Jesus took something that was a flaw, an imperfection, Caesarea Philippi about my life. So when I was 8 years old, my parents got divorced. I don't know how many of you are kids of divorce, but it's a very traumatic experience. And when they got a divorce, the doctor says it was that moment that I got Tourette syndrome. So that's why when I'm up here, right, I got a little twitching around, and I make weird noises, and my face twitches, and my body twitches, because I have Tourette's. Still, to this day, I have Tourette's. And here's the thing, when I was growing up, I did all the things Tourette's people do. Like, I made weird noises, I swore at people randomly. Like, if you go on YouTube, you just watch these Tourette's people, and they're just swearing. I can't even watch it, because then I'll just start doing everything they do. And so, like, I had a guy tell me, you gotta go out, I got a buddy, he's got Tourette's, you guys should go for lunch. I'm like, I ain't going out for lunch with your buddy, I'm gonna pick up 3 habits before the bill comes, bro, forget your... But I used to swear at people all the time. Like when I was a kid sitting at the bus stop, I'd be like, F, F, F. Like literally, I'd say not the letter F, that's for you fine Christian church people, all right? So I could throw F-bombs around. I was yelling at people, swearing at people. Now here's the one job you're never gonna get in life when you randomly throw F-bombs around. A preacher, right? It's never gonna work. Hey, F, F. Welcome to 2 cities, F, get in a small group, all right? It's like, what's wrong with this guy? But this is the whole point, man. You know what God does? He decides to look at you and all of your insecurity and all the reasons that you would never be valuable. And he says, I'm going to use you not because of you, but in spite of you. I'm going to use you with all your imperfections, all your weird things about you. I'm going to take those and I'm going to use them and redeem them, because the whole point is not because you're good, but because he is good. That's the beautiful part about the gospel, is that you actually are in second place because God takes you and does an amazing thing. Now, there was a point at which in my life, when I was 19, I gave my life to Jesus. Then he called me into ministry. Kyle and I were talking about this. He got called into pastoral ministry when he was about 16. I was about 20. I just kind of started coming to the church. And I was not ready for any of this. I was a chain smoker. The youth pastor started talking to me. He's like, hey, dude, I want you preaching tonight at youth group. I'm like, okay. So I'm literally in the back. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to. All right, open up your Bibles to Mark chapter 5. I'm like preaching a sermon. I wasn't ready. And then God said, I want you to go into ministry and be a pastor. And I was like, I don't want to be a pastor, because here's the thing. Would you agree with me? People are the worst, right? Just y'all are messed up, and I don't have the patience for this. See, Kyle, he's a good pastor. Your pastors around here, they love you. They know your name. They're like, oh, these people are awesome. I don't care. Honestly, I don't. People meet me in the lobby. They're like, my name's Steven. I'm like, great, delete. I'm not going to need your name in about 10 minutes. I'm not going to need to remember you. But I didn't want to get into this, because it was like, oh my goodness, you're going to go into ministry and everyone's going to, church people, they're going to complain about everything. Well, you haven't played my favorite worship. Start a singles ministry for me and my friends. It's like, I don't want to start a church to get you a date. Figure your own life out. So that was my heart. And God was like, I'm going to take you and all that messed up weirdness, and I'm going to make you a pastor, because I want to teach you. And this is what began to happen in my life. I began to serve people, and then I started planting this church in Vancouver in 2010. I was 29 years old. I didn't know what I was doing. And people started coming to know Jesus. Now, who were these people? They were messed up. They were Caesarea Philippi type people. They were people with a messed up past. The guy comes up to me, I used to worship Vishnu like last week, but now I gave my life to Jesus. Can I be an elder? I'm like, sure. I don't even know what's going on, but because these are the people God uses in life, and it's a beautiful thing. Millions of people around you don't know who Jesus is. And the question is, will you be like Jesus and go to those people? And so the text actually goes on, and Jesus says, who do people say that I am? And they say all these different people, John the Baptist and Elijah and Jeremiah. But then Jesus asks the definitive question of Christianity that you need to hear, verse 15. But what about you? Who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. That is the center of the center of the center of Christianity. There's lots of things we talk about. God loves you and go to heaven. This is the question, because Who Jesus Christ is the definitive question about your soul. It's not about actually who you are. It's about who Jesus is. And this is where it becomes interesting, because the kind of humility it takes to say, look what Peter says, you are the Messiah, that's the king. Here's the question, who's the king of your life? There's only two options, it's either you or Jesus. It's either you or Jesus. And have you come to a place in your life where you've been humble enough to go, I don't want to be the king anymore? The third chapter of this problem of life that Kyle wanted me to weave some stuff from the book into the message, and all of the stuff I'm talking about are in the book. The central concept of it is you have to stop trying to be God. That the fundamental problem of your life is that you're trying to basically do what Adam and Eve did in the garden, which was you can have every tree of the garden, but the only one you can't eat is the one that's gonna make you like God. And they go, I want that. I hate human limitation. I want to be God. And the fundamental problem of your life is that you're trying to be God and you won't humble yourself and let Jesus be God. That's the whole question of your life. The reason you're stressed, the reason you're anxious is because you're trying to control too much. You're trying to be the best grandma or best grandpa and best father and best whatever. And you're going, man, no, Jesus is the king. But that takes humility, because you got to get to a place in your life where you go, I'm not the king. I can't control everything. Jesus Christ is the king, which is really hard, which means you got to pay attention when God tries to teach you humility. So here's what happens to me. This is what happened about a month ago. I love these moments, and hopefully you have these in your life where you realize that God is actually trying to humble you. Okay, so here's what happened to me a month ago. I'm walking through Target with my 14-year-old daughter and her friend. They want to go to Target, buy something, so I'm walking along, and this woman stops me in the aisle. She goes, oh, Pastor Mark. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, oh my goodness, I go to your church. You don't understand. Your sermons have changed my life. It's incredible. Every week, my whole family's been changed by your preaching. And I'm like, gather around, kids. Speak a little louder, right? I was like, let's revisit what you're saying. What are you saying? Oh, your sermons are just, and I'm right in Target. I'm like, yeah, come on, kids, you got to listen to this. This is fantastic. And I'm just on cloud 9. She's just feeding my ego. You're the greatest. Oh, yes, yes. So I walk away from her, no joke, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And I walk over and I look down this aisle, and there's 2 teenage boys in the aisle. Now the thing about me right now is my little Tourette's habit right now is I make a weird noise. I'll just be like, right, just randomly, okay? And so I'll just randomly, so my family loves it. By the way, just making weird noises all the time. So I was walking along, I don't even know it. I just like made a noise. Anyway, so I'm listening to this woman, she's praising me, I'm the greatest thing on earth. And I walk like 2 steps like this, I look down the aisle, and there's these 2 like teenage boys. And the whole aisle just reeks like weed, because they probably just smoked a joint out front. So they're in the chip aisle, getting their munchies, you know. And I walk up, and they just look up from their munchies, they're like, right? And I'm like, I went from the heights of cool and great to you're a loser, right? And this is what God does in our life, man. He goes, oh, you think by being beautiful, you're gonna get saved? You think by getting a promotion at work, you think you're so cool that you can get into the kingdom? Guess what? You ain't. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter how good of a parent you are. It doesn't matter how good of a spouse you are. You aren't cool enough to get into the kingdom, which is why he starts the whole Sermon on the Mount by saying, blessed are the what in spirit? The poor, not the rich, because you have to come to the end of yourself ever to trust and treasure Jesus. You got to stop trying to be God. Stop trying to be in control of all things. Now, here's what religion teaches you, though. You can be God. Just be a good person. Don't watch rated R movies. Don't say these words. Go to church this many times, and you will perform in a way where God will start to love you and save you. And you can project out to the world that you're a good person, and everyone will like you and find you interesting. Now, listen, so here's what religion has taught me, and it's a sickness in all of us. I try to project stuff out into the world that I'm not. And if I don't have my identity rooted in Jesus, I feel like I need to be somebody I'm not. So last week, I'm at Starbucks. My kids were reading in some bookstore, so I went up to the Starbucks and I'm like, hey, can I get a venti Americano? Right? Girl behind the counter is like, yep, that'll be $5.50 or whatever. I'm like, great. I got up my credit card, and you know, do they have this in Winston-Salem where the, Starbucks has like, you have to like the option of tipping every time you buy something, right? And your brain's like, why would I don't understand. I'm buying the product. You already work here. You probably get a paycheck. Why am I tipping you? I don't understand. And so So it's like the machine gets in front of me and I look at it and she's like, and it's 550. And I say, okay, no tip. Boop. And the minute I hit no tip, she goes, hi, Pastor Mark. No, because, no, it looked cheap. See, what you should have done is the minute you see me coming, you say, hi, Pastor Mark. Hi, Pastor Mark. Because then I'll give you like a $20 tip. Or I'll be like, oh, I don't like material possessions. Take all of my money, whatever. Because I'm trying to project something out into the world that I'm not, which is generous. But I'm doing it because I want you to like me. I'm doing it because I want you to think something of me that I'm not. And this is what we do every single day. And this is the kind of thing that Jesus actually sets us free from, is he says, you got to stop trying to earn this in front of me. You got to start pretending you're somebody you're not. You understand your whole identity is built not on your performance, listen, but the performance of Jesus Christ for you. That's the difference. And so that's the difference of religion versus true Christianity, though. The gospel is all about, it's based on what Jesus did. That's why he's saying you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the living God. It's that life is based on you, not me and what I can do for you. But religion says the opposite. It's about how you perform for God, not about how God performed for you and Jesus. It's vastly different things, and there's a vastly different way to approach your life. But here's the beautiful thing. Once you start to understand the true gospel, then you get set free to be the person that God has asked you to be. And so you get Jesus on the cross. What does Jesus say on the cross? It is finished. It's over. All the work is done. You can't even top it up. Isn't that beautiful? You can't even top it up. You can't make it any better. You're a wreck. You're sinful. You're a disaster. That's why Jesus had to do this for you. And it was a cosmic shift at the time, because that religious world, they loved their temple, they loved their food laws, they loved all the things. And Jesus said, it's all over. Right? So I know this guy, he has a big tattoo on his left arm. And in big black bold letters, it simply says these words, Leviticus 19:28. Leviticus 19:28. And he says, so many people come up to me and they say, what is this verse? Like usually it's John 3:16 or whatever. What is this Leviticus verse on your arm? And so this is what Leviticus 19:28 is. Do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord. That's a verse in the Bible. And so he says he's had more gospel conversations with people because of that verse, because they're like, well, wait a minute, what's the verse mean? He's like, it's the verse in the Bible that talks about you're not allowed to get tattoos. What? And he's like, yeah, because what Jesus did on the cross was he ended all of that. And now there is a freedom that was a thing tied specifically to that particular moment and date and religious and all the false religions at the time. And Jesus Christ has set you free that every Jew and Gentile, it doesn't matter what food laws you have, it doesn't matter what special days you keep, it's all over. The temples are done, the sacrifices are done. Jesus Christ died and rose again, and we are free. And listen, if that wasn't true, half of your worship band would have to be fired. I've seen them all, they're all tatted up. But Jesus did something, guys. He created the end of religion so that we can walk in relationship with him. And this is why he's saying this is the most important question. It's that he says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Now, here's the question. Some of you are sitting here right now and you believe that he's the Messiah, the Son of the living God. But here's the question. This is very important. You believe that. Listen, I was asked to speak at a apologetics conference a few years ago, and I showed up and they said, okay, here's the job. We want you to convince the crowd that the resurrection of Jesus historically happened. So I got up, did a 45-minute presentation on the resurrection, all the arguments, historical arguments for the resurrection of Jesus, that he was a literal person in Nazareth, the Roman Empire, this is how they worked, this is what would have happened, here's the better explanations, here's the woman at all the explanations down the line, 45 minutes of this explanation to this crowd of 3,000 people. And I said at the end of the message, I said, let me ask you a question. Who in this room believes everything I just said? Who in this room believes in their heart and in their mind that Jesus Christ didn't stay dead, but he rose from the dead? And everyone in the room was on their feet applauding. They were going, yes, let's go, let's go. And I said, awesome. And Satan does too. And it doesn't save him. Do you know why? Because there's a difference in believing in Jesus and treasuring him above everything else in the universe. Believing that Jesus rose from the dead didn't save Satan because he doesn't trust to it. He doesn't hold on to it as the greatest truth in the universe. He doesn't treasure it. Listen, religious people find Jesus Christ useful. True Christians find Jesus beautiful. And some of you here, you find Jesus useful. It's like he's going to get me out of hell. He's going to save me from my sins. He's going to do these utilitarian, pragmatic things for me in my life. But you don't find him interesting. You don't find him beautiful. He doesn't make your heart soar. He's not the one that you're like, and Dallas Willard said this. He called it vampire Christianity. He said it's when people say, give me a bit of your blood, Lord, and I'll see you in heaven when I die. And Dallas Willard said, you might want to ask the question whether you're going to want to spend eternity in the presence of someone you don't even find that interesting in this life. It's fascinating that we in our culture have been given this version of Jesus where he's like, he's not that interesting to us. And some of us, it's because you picture him still as this peasant, a poor victim. And as one scholar, Darrell Johnson, points out, that's who Jesus was 2,000 years ago, but it's not who he is now. You read Revelation 1, who he is now is the reigning, ruling King of kings and Lord of lords who's gonna come back on a horse for his people and have victory. That's who Jesus is now. And so he says, who do you say that I am? You know what's beautiful about this? Once it's easy to treasure Jesus. Let me tell you how it's easy to treasure Jesus when you take your own imperfections, your own sins, your own mistakes, and you put them up against him, and then you start to feel the grace. That's where you start to treasure him, because you begin to realize how your life would be nowhere without him. Do you know how bad of a pastor I am? I shouldn't even have this job. I should have been fired a long time ago from this job. I'm not good at it. I was preaching 2 weeks ago at our church. I was in front of 2,500 people in a room, okay? It was our second service, and I'm going through and I'm preaching something. I'm looking at the crowd, and I do a bunch of interaction when it's my own church, and they kind of know who I am, so I kind of talk to them the whole time. So I'm kind of chatting, and I look down, I'm like, hey, I'm talking to this lady, I asked her a question, and then, no joke, in front of 2,500 people, I go, are you pregnant? No, I know you're not, but this is what I said. I'm like, are you pregnant in front of 2,500? What am I, crazy? You should never ask a woman, you understand this, right? I made a rule a long time ago, I would never ask a woman if she's pregnant, ever. I don't care if the belly's out to here and there's a foot. I was like, ignore. I look at a random woman in the audience, are you pregnant? Now, thank God she was, which was great. Yeah, she's like, She got her hands on her belly. Could have been dangerous. Huge. I blunder stuff all the time. And if you're anything like me, okay, you guys ever heard of Saddleback Church before? Saddleback Church in California, Rick Warren, purpose-driven life, purpose-driven church, all that stuff. So Kyle and I were talking backstage about the fact that we growing up, we read those books, man. Purpose-driven life, purpose-driven church. We're young church planters. We're going to reach people for Jesus. We got a Rick Warren in Saddleback, greatest church in California, one of the biggest churches in the world. I was like, man, I got a phone call last summer. They said, can you come preach at Saddleback Church? I'm like, what? This is the Super Bowl, okay, of preaching. And I'm like, yes, cancel everything. I'm going to Saddleback. And I'm going to go there, and it's going to be perfect. All right, I'm going to work on that sermon, write every sentence, every line. I'm going to get there. These people, they're going to forget who Rick Warren is by the time I'm done, all right? This is going to be the greatest thing they've ever heard in their life. Go down there. So I get down there, Orange County, all these yachts and dogs. And I'm going to, people holding dogs right in the church service. So I get up and I preach my sermon. And during the sermon, there was this one part, I'm like, hey, do you know the Apostle Paul? Some of you guys feel like you're not good enough for God. You know the Apostle Paul was a murderer. And I'm like, how many of you here has ever murdered someone? Raise up your hand. Well, the first service was fine. But the second service, I go, how many of you have ever murdered anyone? Raise up your hand. And over out of the peripheral on my left side, I see this hand go up. And I go, ah! And it was the sign language lady who works at the church, man. She's got this whole deaf section. She's like, and then she's like, hey, raise up your hand if you ever killed anybody. She's like, I'm like, ah! I'm sure this is not the sign language for kill anybody, but whatever. Do you understand? I'm never getting invited back to Saddleback in my life. It's done, man. It's over, man. This lady left the church after I asked her if she was pregnant, took her money with her, went to some other church probably. I don't know. Forgot her name. But God decides to use me anyway in whatever messed up, dysfunctional, because he takes all the grace that he has for people like you and me who have mistakes and things. See, here's what the great preacher Charles Spurgeon years ago said in the 1800s. You guys know who Charles Spurgeon is? This is preacher. He's called the Prince of Preachers. And he said this, he said, stop offering God your strength. He has all of that. Offer him your weakness. He has none of that himself. I don't know who you're trying to impress, but some of you are here and you're trying to be a good person. You're trying to impress people, be cool enough, be successful enough. And Jesus is going, all the identity that you have is in me and what I've done. That's why he asks them, who do you say that I am? And you have this great confession. You are the King. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. It's a beautiful thing. And then he says this, I love this, in verse 19. He says, I'll give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. You know what I love about this? Jesus looks at you and goes, I'm going to give you the keys. I'm going to give you the keys. And you know what happens in our life? Jesus goes, I want to give you responsibility. I want to give you burden. I want you to carry something. And what we do is we try to hand the keys back to Jesus. Hey, sorry, what's your name, sir? Right here? Sam. Okay, Sam, here's what happens in life. People, here's what Jesus is saying to Sam. Sam, I have keys, which is all the important work that I have for you in this world. And I'm giving them to you, the keys of the kingdom. And what Sam tends to do, if you're anything like me, is to kick him back at Jesus and go, no, I'm Sam. I can't do this. I need you to do it. And Jesus is like, no, I'm giving you the responsibility with all your gifts and all your past and all your history. And we go, no, I want Kyle to do it. I want the pastors around 2 cities to reach my friend for Jesus at either the 9 or the 11 service. And Jesus goes, oh no, Sam, I want you to reach your friend on a Tuesday afternoon in your living room. That's what I want out of your life. Stop trying to, I'm not saying you do this, but stop trying to give everyone responsibility that I'm trying to give you. I'm trying to give you, I have a whole mission for you and for you, everybody in here. Jesus is going, I'm giving you the keys. So here's the thing. Are you taking the keys? Are you living out the mission Jesus has for you? Because here's something I know. I learned this from my wife. Listen, it's very important. So a couple months ago, I'm sitting at home. I think I was cutting my grass. And this text comes through. All my kids and my wife were at Disneyland. Okay, so here's a picture of this is a picture of my family, by the way. My wife, my 3 daughters, 18, 16, 14. Pray for me, guys. I'm in trouble. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm a girl dad. Whenever a guy comes over to the house, they're just like, I don't know how you do this, man. I just keep my head down and just keep doing what I'm doing. All 3 of these girls are at Disneyland with their mom, and they're all hanging out at Disneyland. And I got a text from my youngest daughter, Mom just saved a baby. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, what are you talking about? So I called her. She's like, you don't understand. So my wife's sitting in the line at Disneyland for one of the rides, looks over, sees a baby in a baby Bjorn, and it's face outward toward her, and the mom's chatting to her, and the baby goes like blue and just like dangling there. So my wife steps over the stanchion, goes up there, unclicks the baby, pulls it out, does whatever you do. Like, I don't know what you do for a baby. Shook it around, probably didn't shake it around, but whatever. Did whatever you need to do to save a baby's life. And they just and it was crazy. And they said, Dad, everyone was around. Everyone was selling. There was like 20 people around clapping, and Minnie Mouse was there. Everyone was freaking out. And I was like, in that moment, I realized this is very important. You can't change. Jesus is saying, I've given you responsibility. I've given you the keys to change the world. You can't change the world by minding your own business. You see, I would walk around Disneyland and I would see that guy. I'd be like, I don't know, that must be just what's going on. Hey, let's stay over here, kids. I don't want to bug them. I don't want to mess things up. I don't want to talk to strangers. My wife has no problem not minding her own business. And it's a beautiful thing because she changes the world because of it. And Jesus is going, I'm giving you keys to the kingdom of heaven. And every single day that you live, when you wake up, you are helping people to one of those. This is what he's saying. I want you to get people to the kingdom of heaven. This is why he's given us this great responsibility. It's why I started a church in Vancouver when I was 29, because I felt a burden for my city. I could have just continued doing the job I was doing and it would have been fine. It would have been easy. It would have been comfortable, which is the God of our age, by the way, comfort. And instead, I started this church to reach a bunch of these people because they didn't even know they were lost. They thought, they're walking around Vancouver, they thought they were saved because they wore Lululemon pants and carried a water bottle and ate kale. And they're like, I'm connected to the universe. And every week I'd have to be like, no, you need to know Jesus. And Jesus is going, I'm giving you the keys to do this thing. Are you willing to do it? Because I need you. Do you understand, for a human being, listen, it's very important. For a human being, do you know what shrivels the soul more than anything else? Not to be needed. I do a lot of men's conferences, and when I get up and talk to these men and they come to me after and they're crying because they feel unneeded by the world around them. They feel beat up. They feel like the world just looks at them and goes, you're dumb. Just do this. And they feel unneeded. But for a guy, it's hard, right? Like the reason guys sit around, have you ever gone to like a barbecue with a bunch of dudes and they're all like sitting around? What are they doing? If they go over to their buddy's house around the barbecue and some dude's cooking hot dogs or whatever, what do all the men do? They hang around the grill. Why? You're not needed. Go away. You're not doing anything. But they want to be there because they want to feel needed. They're like, I'm needed. Hey, turn that up, Tony. Blah, blah, blah. Time to flip those burgers. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, buddy, just go over there and talk to your friend. I don't need you. But they all feel this gravitation to feel needed, I remember watching this movie a long time ago, and their whole family was looking at this man, and they're like, why do you work so much? Why are you workaholic? And he said, well, because I have to provide for my family. And then he said, you know what? It's not that. It's because at work, I feel needed. But when I get home, I feel lost. And every time I speak at men's conferences and I tell that story, guys start crying. Because I can, look, did you see that picture of those girls? Do you know what it's like? When I'm at work, let me tell you something. When I'm at work, I'm the boss. I'm the man. All right? I come up with wacky ideas. It's like, let's shoot rabbits out of a... Everyone's like, okay, sir. A bunch of people go off and make it happen. Let's do this. Let's do that. Yeah. And then I get in my car and I drive home and I start to pull up that driveway and those four faces are in the window looking at me. It's like, forgot to take out the garbage again, you idiot. What is that? And I walk through the door and all of a sudden I'm not needed anymore. And it's like, I feel lost here, man. Send me back to work. You know how often my wife has said, you know I don't work for you, right? I'm like, I know it'd just be so much easier if you did, to be dead honest with you, but... So here's what Jesus says. It's fascinating. They've confessed that you're the Son of the living God, and he says the gates of Hades or hell will not overcome it. On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell or Hades will not overcome it. Here's the beautiful thing you got to know. Jesus Christ came to defeat the enemy that has you all entangled. The enemy of Satan, sin, death, Hades, hell. The thing that is trying to influence you, he's already defeated him. And your job is to live out of the freedom of that victory instead of looking and going, one day. Listen, there was an old preaching pastor. I remember he gathered a bunch of us young preachers in a room. He was like 75 years old. And I always remember this. He said to me, he gathered all of us. We're like 20, we're young preachers. And he said, let me ask you a question. When you show up at your church on Sunday, let's say you showed up and you work on your sermon all week and you get to the church and nobody is there. Okay? Nobody showed up. They've all left and it's an empty room. He said, what would you as the preacher do? And we're all just like, I don't know, just go home and whatever. He's like, no. you still preach your sermon, because the principalities and the powers and the demons are still listening, and they need to be reminded that they are defeated in the person and the work of Jesus Christ. On the cross, he destroyed them and their influence, and they need to be told and reminded that he's coming back for this church. The gates of hell will not prevail against your life when you've trusted in Jesus. That's the thing that sets you free. And then he ends this way, and then I'll pray for us. He says, you have the keys of the kingdom. And then I love this confession. Here's what I want to leave with. You are the Messiah, the son of the, underline this word. What is this word? Living God. Living. Here's the difference. And I don't know that I always see it on the faces of the people that I hang with. We do not serve a God who is dead. He is alive and well and speaking and still doing miracles and still moving and saving people. It's just a question of whether you're alive and willing to see it. So I moved down to California 3 years ago. And my buddy John runs a ministry in Nicaragua. Okay, so a year and a half ago or so, he's in Nicaragua and he's taking care of one of his ministries, and he decides to go surfing one day. So he gets on the surfboard, he goes out in the middle of the Pacific, he's surfing, he's waiting for a wave, there's like 20 people around, he's floating around, and this girl floats up beside him and they get chatting. He's like, hey, how old are you? She's like, oh, I'm like 20. And he goes, cool. They get chatting about life. They're floating there on the surfboards. And he goes, where are you from? And she goes, oh, I'm from Vancouver. And he's like, really? That's crazy. We just hired a guy from Vancouver like a couple years ago. He's one of my close friends, one of our pastors down in our church. She's like, oh, really? What's his name? And he goes, oh, his name is Mark Clark. And she goes, white as a ghost. And he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, she said, listen, I didn't grow up in the church at all. A couple years ago, I walked into one of his campuses and he preached the gospel and I gave my life to Jesus and my whole life got changed and transformed. It was the most beautiful thing. But about 6 months ago, and she starts to cry, she goes, I decided to walk away from all of this. I don't want church anymore. I don't want God anymore. I don't want Jesus anymore. I don't want the Bible anymore. But everyone around me, so I tried to escape. So I got my passport and I started jumping around. I want to do whatever I want to do with my own body. I want to do whatever I want with my time. So I started jumping around different countries, and I'm on the run from anybody right now. And 3 days ago, I got my passport and I swiped it and I said, let's go to Nicaragua. And today I randomly jumped in a Jeep and I came to this beach and said, oh, I should rent a surfboard. And I went out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean to run from God, and now you're here. And she's weeping. This is the God we serve, guys. You can try to run from him and he will hunt you down in the middle of Pacific Ocean. And he'll go, Mark Clark, remember? That's how good he is. I don't want to just sit up here and tell you a bunch of things that are truths about him. I don't want you to just think that he's real. I want you to know that he's good. He's alive. You can try to outrun him and he'll tackle you down. He made sure that you had the grandparents that you had. He made sure that you had the parents that you had, that best friend. He made sure 2 weeks ago, and you don't even know it, that you turned left instead of right at that light because you would have died if you turned left. He has you here, sitting here, breathing. Why? Because he didn't kill you last night. Because he has a purpose for your life. He put breath in your lungs and he's going, I'm still alive and I want you to serve me. Now listen, here's how I know. No, pray for you. The only reason I'm standing here right now as a Christian at all is because my grandfather, who died 2 years ago, he was 100 years old, was the only other Christian in my family. And he prayed for me and prayed for me, prayed because everything was working against me. And my grandfather, the way he became a Christian, because he didn't grow up in a Christian home, he was like, I forget how old he was, probably 30 or late 20s. It was like in the early 50s. He's driving along the road in Toronto on the main highway, and his engine blows at a random spot on the highway. And so he pulls off, and he goes up to the first mechanic shop that he can find, and he pulls his car into this mechanic shop, and a mechanic comes out from the back, says, what can I do? Can I help you? He's like, yeah, my engine's blown. This guy goes in and tinkers around and fixes it and says, okay, it's done. And my grandfather says, listen, I don't have any money to pay you right now, but I'll come back tomorrow and pay you. And the guy looks at him and he says, don't worry about paying me. Here's my payment. There's a guy downtown Toronto tonight, and he's at a stadium, and he's doing a talk, and I want you to come with me. And my grandfather's like, okay, I'll go with you. And they go downtown Toronto, Maple Leaf Gardens, and there's a lineup of people around this building, and my grandfather walks into the building and sits way up at the top, and none other than Billy Graham walks down and preaches the gospel from the pulpit, and my grandfather comes down the aisle and gives his life to Jesus, and his life is never the same. And that man prayed for me before I ever existed that I would come to know Jesus. How did that happen? Because on a random road, an engine blows in a car at the right exit, and he happens to turn this way and go into that mechanic shop and meet that man who leads him to that gathering. There are no coincidences. He is a living God who is still saving and searching and sealing and loving. And the question is, do you live like it? Can you embrace it? So, Heavenly Father, I do pray away all the distraction of life, that we would understand the meaning and purpose that you have given to each person sitting here right now. They all have stories. They all have mistakes. They all have sins. They all have ways they have messed up, and they walk in here feeling unworthy. And I pray that they would hear loud and clear that the cross of Christ has made them worthy, and you will empower them to do great things when they rise up and grab the keys of responsibility and go on mission until their last day, when they meet you and you ask them that very question, what do you think of my son? And that they would love, believe, and treasure Jesus Christ in all things, that this church would be on mission with that at the center. In Jesus' great name we pray. Amen. Amen. Guys, thank you, Two Cities, for having me. Bless you guys. Love you. Thank you.